All right, so technically the law started in June, but the actual application of it with policies and all that, we're about 4 months into this thing. Um, is it time for a checkup?
I think it is. The overwhelming majority of school districts in Texas have already implemented this bell-to-bell, phones up and away policy, and kids, parents, teachers, administrators all report amazing results. Students are more focused, their academic performance is increasing, and anxiety levels and suicide, self-harm ideas are decreasing. So this is all because we are giving kids the freedom to be away from the anxiety and the social pressure of being on their cell phones all day, every day. And unfortunately, we have a few school districts that are refusing to do what's in the best interest of the kid. Not only is this the state law, a bell-to-bell, phones away for the day policy, but also it is very clear that kids only see harm from being on their phones during academic time. And so I want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to encourage those boards and those superintendents to follow the law and, more importantly, do what is clearly best for their students.
We know a school district in San Antonio is under investigation or review by TEA for not exactly doing a bell-to-bell, but allowing it in phones use in cafeterias and during the hallway. What's wrong with doing that?
Well, first of all, it's not what the law says. The law that we passed was specifically from the morning bell to the afternoon bell. And that is because if you allow cell phones during passing periods, during cafeteria time, what you're asking me is, well, isn't a little bit of anxiety okay to force on our children? Isn't a little bit of predators having access to your kids during school time okay if it's just a little bit? And the answer is no, of course. When you allow those cell phones to be out during passing periods or even close to their desks during academic time, their anxiety still skyrockets. They are still constantly thinking about checking those notifications. They have a hard time coming down from those dopamine hits for about 20 minutes after they're checking their phones. And so the way to get the best academic experience, because by the way, that is what our public education system is for, right? Is to educate our kids, not to provide them with an opportunity for social pressure. And the way to do that is to allow them to have 8 hours of uninterrupted social and academic time in person with each other.
But there's parental anxiety. And shouldn't there be a window of opportunity for kids and parents to talk to each other, and maybe that being the lunch hour?
As a mom myself, I want to speak directly to parents at this time. There is zero evidence that your child having access to the cell phone makes them any safer. In fact, the opposite is true. In an emergency situation, oftentimes the student's cell phone access hinders the first responders' ability to get to the situation and quickly and efficiently. On the other hand, there is a 100% chance that your child will have lower academic performance, will have more anxiety, more depression, and more mental health issues if you do have access to that phone during those times. So for me as a parent, it is a clear choice. For me as a lawmaker, it is a clear choice. Kids deserve this freedom, and the data is so clear. We are not reinventing the wheel here. We have joined now 32 states that have passed a similar bill. We have positive feedback from so many school districts. I want to applaud the superintendents and the school board members who led on this issue and who implemented this even before there was a state law in place. But mom to mom, there are bad things. Your kids are being exposed to horrible things on their smartphones. Get them a dumb phone if you need to connect with them, and make sure that you are giving them the gift of uninterrupted academic focus from the start of their school day to the end of it.
But there's still the security question. And when bad things happen, like at Brown University recently had an active shooter and kids were communicating back and forth with their parents. Shouldn't they be able to have their phones to be able to do that?
So there are a lot of things that we are doing as a state to make sure kids are safe at school. The most effective one being ensuring that there's an armed guard on every single campus. That is what is going to make your kids safe. Again, there is zero evidence that kids having access to cell phones makes them any safer. In fact, the opposite is true. Oftentimes, they become targets if they're sending out messages, and it makes it harder for first responders to get to the situation quickly. And so when you are weighing risks, do not let you have 100% chance of damaging your child. And can I bring something else up on it? If we're being honest with each other, mental health is the root cause of a lot of these tragedies. And so instead of letting fear take you down a direction that is not going to make your child any safer, let's come together as a society and as parents and make sure that we are prioritizing the mental health of our kids, because in the long run, that is what is going to make them most safe.
You've reached out to TEA Commissioner Mike Morath
Yes.
about this issue. What do you want him to do? Do you want a full audit? And how would they do that?
Sure, yes. Commissioner Morath and I have spoken at length about this issue. He is adamant about making sure that every school district is enforcing current state law. And he's dealing with this on a day in, day out basis, and he has seen the positive results. And for these school districts who are continuing to not do what's best for these kids, we want to make sure that they're getting the guidance and encouragement that they need to get in compliance with the law. And so I have asked him if he would do a full compliance review of all of the school districts. And in return, he said, well, will you help me get out the word? We have a complaint hotline. We have a place where parents, teachers, administrators can submit feedback, because we want to make sure that that these learning environments and that our schools are a place of academic achievement, not social pressure and bullying.
With this information, what do you hope to do with it when the legislature returns in 2027? Could the law be tweaked, maybe have some waiver situations in it, or stronger clampdowns?
Oh, I think the law is very, very clear and very well written as it is. And I want to say kudos to my colleague, Representative Caroline Fairley, who really got a bipartisan group together and made some compromises already to get this thing across the finish line. But she was very clear, and all of us who voted on this were very clear, that from bell to bell was a critical part of the law, because that's what the data tells us. That's what the data tells us is best for the kids. And so if school districts aren't enforcing, and I want to say the sad part is the teachers are wanting their superintendents and their school districts and their administrators to enforce this. They're the ones that, once that classroom door closes, that have to compete for children's attention if their cell phones are near. And let me tell you this, it is amazing to see. You see studies where if a student has a cell phone face down on their desk versus away and turned off in a locker, their academic performance is better if it's in the locker. Even being near it is damaging to their attention. And so teachers are asking for help from their administrators to have their backs and to say, hey, the state law is in place. Help us enforce it, because it's better for our kids.
And talking to some parents and some news articles that you had actually forwarded to me, some of the reaction is that lunchrooms are louder.
Yes.
It used to be they were pretty quiet because kids were on their phone. Now they're interacting, and a lot of folks are having to go outside, and they're playing soccer during their breaks or being outside. Is that a good thing?
I think so. I think we can all agree that kids talking to each other, looking each other in the eye over the lunch period, instead of getting caught up into whatever, honestly, there's a chance that they're being exposed to inappropriate material on the internet. Like, yes, that is a good thing. In-person interaction is a great thing.
And you sent a study out of New Jersey that library books checking
Yes.
out more?
Can you imagine that? A school district who has instituted this policy saw a 61% increase in the number of books checked out from the library. So if you want your kids to read more, if you want your kids to have less anxiety, if you want your kids to have better academic performance, support your teachers in having cell phones away for the day. And by the way, if we're talking about schools now, but I would encourage parents to take a look at what's going on their children's phones outside of school as well. You know, there are such disturbing reports about extortion, about encouraging kids to commit suicide, about pornographic exposure. Get your kids a dumb phone. Resist this social pressure that everybody has it. And that's another great thing that's about that comes from bell to bell is the only reason these kids want to be on their cell phone is number one, they're addicted. And number two, everybody else is on it. So if nobody else is on it, that's the gift of freedom that we're giving them.
Is this the what next discussion? Are we going down the path where Australia has banned all social media for teens?
I would say it is clear that social media exposure for underdeveloped brains is incredibly damaging to our kids. And it is clear that we have opened up a portal for predators to get to our children. And that should be alarming for any parent. So this thing has spiraled it's spiraled so out of control. And I think parents and children both want the support in getting their lives refocused on in-person interaction. And so a dumb phone that can make calls, that can send texts, can do the same thing in providing you the ease of communication without the dangers of what is going on the internet.
So do you support what Australia has done?
Oh, I think absolutely. So there's no good that's coming from it. Social media is a toxin on our society, and we are suffering the consequences. And so I do support. We raised the age to 13 in recent legislative sessions. But if we need to take another look at whether or not that's the right age to give access to a world of inappropriate material for underage children, I think it's something worth talking about, because I think we're all going to benefit when we break our phone addiction.